President Trump's big, beautiful bill could move forward as soon as today, but a contentious weekend vote already cost one senator his job. Plus, Israel issuing a warning for Palestinians in northern Gaza as President Trump makes a renewed push for peace in the region. And she's a survivor. A scary moment for Beyonce as she was stuck dangling above the crowd at her Houston concert. Those stories and more today, Monday, June 30th. I'm Caitlin Becker, and this is the New York Postcast.
2 first responders were killed and a third injured Sunday after a sniper ambushed them while fighting a brush fire in western Idaho. The barrage of bullets continued for hours near the small town of Coeur d'Alene. Authorities were even taking on fire as they attempted to hold a short press conference. The local sheriff managed to tell reporters that a high-powered rifle was being used with shots coming from a nearby mountain. 5 hours after those shots first rang out, SWAT teams discovered a dead man near a firearm who they believe to be the lone shooter. Officials say he set the brush fire intentionally and that he did it to lure firefighters and emergency responders to the area to be killed. As of Monday morning, authorities had yet to identify the gunman or a motive.
Over the weekend, the Senate passed the first hurdle to getting the bill signed into law, successfully voting to begin debate on it. 2 Republicans, Senator Tom Tillis of North Carolina and Senator Rand Paul of Kentucky, voted against moving the bill forward, largely based on spending increases. The Congressional Budget Office says that the Senate version, as it now stands, would add $3.3 trillion to the federal deficit. Now, debate on this bill has begun, but it is going to be a while before a full vote can take place. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer promised to request that the entire bill, all 930 pages of it, be read aloud before a final vote is taken. And here's a little civics refresher. If the Senate does pass the bill, it doesn't just go sailing off to the Resolute desk to get signed into law by the president. It'll have to go back to the House for a revote on whatever the senators tweaked. And I mentioned hurdles in the beginning of this story. Here's a big one. Speaker Mike Johnson cannot afford to lose more than 3 Republican votes. So about that, I asked the Post's political reporter Ryan King, how are things looking in the House?
If there are differences between the Senate version of the big, beautiful bill and what Republican members of the House want, they might try to make revisions, but then that would spark what could be a conference committee to reconcile the differences between the 2 versions of the bill. And GOP leadership is pretty keen on trying to avoid that because that will significantly delay it getting to President Trump's desk. Now, several Republican members of the House have indicated that there are a few issues that they're a little bit concerned about in the Senate version, namely, from fiscal hawks, there are concerns about the deficit impacts. The Senate's bill includes a larger deficit according to CBO projections than the original House bill did. There's also concerns about changes that were made to Medicaid. The Senate bill looked to cut Medicaid spending more deeply than the original House bill and was a little bit more stringent with the work requirements than the original House version. There's also concerns about the Senate's changes to the SALT tax cap.
See what I mean about hurdles there? The bill was given the self-imposed deadline of July 4th by President Trump, but he walked back that demand on Sunday, telling Fox News that it was more important to get it passed than it is to do it by Independence Day on Friday. Moving on now to those 2 Republicans I just mentioned who did not find the bill all that beautiful and voted against it. As you can imagine, President Trump was none too pleased. After the weekend vote on the Hill, President Trump lashed out at Senator Tillis, threatening to back a primary challenger in the 2026 midterms. But as it happens, he will not have to make good on that threat. Following the president throwing down the gauntlet, the senior senator from North Carolina announced he will not seek re-election in 2026, writing in a statement Sunday, quote, "It's become increasingly evident that leaders who are willing to embrace bipartisanship, compromise, and demonstrate independent thinking are becoming an endangered species." Now, Tillis voted no on the procedural vote over the weekend because of concerns that he has around Medicaid cuts in the massive bill. And now over to the latest in Israel, where the military is ordering Palestinians to evacuate northern Gaza ahead of intensifying fighting with Hamas. Remember, Israel is in the midst of two major conflicts right now, one on its southern border with Hamas, and then to the east with Iran. However, the fighting with Iran is currently at a halt with that recent ceasefire deal. And another ceasefire is exactly what President Trump is calling for here, renewing the push to find a peaceful settlement to the war with Hamas, posting online, quote, "Make the deal in Gaza, get the hostages back." And Egypt and Qatar are in agreement here, joining the move for a ceasefire. Hamas says it's ready to talk, and the militant group is offering here to free the rest of the Israeli hostages, 20 of whom are believed to be alive, if and only if the war ends and Israel agrees to a full withdrawal. Well, Israel says that the only way the war will end is with a full dismantling of Hamas. As far as sandwiches go, a PB&J can be pretty dull. And your next peanut butter and jelly might look even more boring, but it could be better for you. Jelly giant J.M. Smucker announced that it will join other big food producers in eliminating artificial dyes. It noted that its sugar-free fruit spreads, ice cream toppings, and baked goods under the Hostess brand, which it also owns, will be the focus. General Mills and Kraft Heinz have made similar announcements, and back in April, PepsiCo said that it would continue efforts to reduce artificial ingredients without offering any more details there. Now, the push follows the announcement by HHS Secretary Robert F. Kennedy Jr. about a federally mandated end to the use of petroleum-based dyes by 2027. And now to a couple stories from our friends at Page 6. The keys to Venice, Italy have finally been returned to the mere mortals. Jeff Bezos and his mega-rich guests have finished celebrating his marriage to Lauren Sanchez, and they have cleared out of the city, letting regular old tourists and locals get back to normal. Now, the blushing bride made it onto the cover of Vogue in her wedding gown, and everybody's a critic. Now, someone who you probably never thought of as any kind of fashionista, Katie Couric, hated it. Couric lambasted Lauren Sanchez's Dolce & Gabbana gown as, quote, tacky, and added in a social media post, "Welcome to the 80s when big hair and conspicuous consumption ruled." Needless to say, she deleted the insult. Now, the $50 million wedding week closed out with an all-night pajama party, complete with a performance by Usher and DJ Cassidy. Sources told Page 6 that Oprah and her bestie Gayle King absolutely ruled the dance floor, and Mick Jagger was out there having the moves like, well, Jagger. Sydney Sweeney got in on the action, as did Kris Jenner, Tommy Hilfiger, and Jerry Seinfeld's wife Jessica. You know, all of Jeff Bezos' nearest and dearest together for a nice celebration of love, because I'm sure he and Sydney Sweeney hang out all the time. Now, we can finally stop talking about Jeff and Lauren's marriage until, of course, the divorce. I'm just kidding. Here's a sentence I never thought I'd say. I wouldn't want to be Beyonce, at least in this instance. The Queen Bee is in the middle of the U.S. leg of her Cowboy Carter tour, selling out stadiums coast to coast. This weekend, Beyonce was serenading her hometown of Houston, Texas, baby, and well, Houston, we have a problem. She was singing her hit 16 Carriages from the sky, seated in a red convertible that's suspended above the crowd. I've seen this in person. It is an incredible sight to behold. It's a moment in the show when she makes her way around the whole stadium, kind of flying in this car so the upper levels can get a glimpse of her up close. But instead of circling around the audience, the car just tilted to the side and stopped. Now, Beyonce finished the first verse of the song and then was just yelling, "Stop, stop, 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 stop." No doubt, of course, the Hive below would have gotten in formation to get her safely down, but they didn't need to. Bey was lowered back to the ground and the concert kept going. A good thing. We all know Beyonce is irreplaceable. And finally today, from trash to treasure, literally, Pamela Howard Thornton from Shepherdsville, Kentucky, loves to play the state lottery, and she is about to teach us all a lesson in following our gut. Pamela was feeling lucky, and she needed to play the $5 Flamingo Bingo scratch-off game. She won a quick $200 on the first ticket, so she decided to go and buy 4 more. First of all, I have never won so much as an Andrew Jackson off of a scratcher, so I'm already impressed. Well, Pamela pressed her luck. She used 3 more scratch-offs, lost all 3 of them, tossed him in the trash, mistakenly throwing away that 4th unscratched ticket. Well, her spidey senses went off, so she went into the trash and fished it out. And a good thing, because it turned out to be an $80 $100,000 winner. Now she will pocket more than 57 grand because taxes. Now Pamela says with that money, she's going to buy a car, pay off some bills, and give some of the winnings to her mom, who she says has always hoped she would see her daughter hit a big ticket, and $80,000 is a big one. I don't know, maybe I'm feeling lucky today. That's it for us this Monday. For more on these stories and everything you could possibly want to know, check out the New York Post in print or online. And don't forget, like and subscribe to the New York Postcast wherever you get your podcasts, and of course on YouTube as well. You will be glad you did wake up in the morning with me. I got your headlines, I got your gossip, everything you need to know to start your day.